code. This is how we're going to do some live polling for the event. So if you can break out your phones, and Jonathan, I'll let you run with this, with getting this set up.
Okay, fantastic. Hi everyone, good morning or late afternoon or late morning, I guess. We have QR codes, and as long as you have a smartphone on you, you could just use your default app. So as the presentation shows, you just pull up your default app, and then on iOS, when you hover the code over the QR code, or hover the camera over the QR code, it's going to do a little pop-up on the top side, and you just tap that link, and it's going to open up the quiz or the polling, right? And the same thing happens on Android. You just open up the camera app like you're about to take a photo of your screen, but instead it'll just autofocus onto the QR code, and same exact thing. A pop-up would happen on most Android phones. It happens on the bottom section, so you'll see a little pop-up like I highlighted in the example photos here for Android, but then iOS, it's usually on the top. So just look for that and just tap that link, and it'll take you straight to the quiz. And when you get to the quiz, just hit submit, and you're good to go. Does everything sound good to everyone?
Yes.
Maybe? Awesome. Cool. And then with that, I'll let Lauren take it away.
Do we scan? Is this what we're scanning right now?
Do you want to scan one right now?
Oh, we're waiting for each question. Okay. So yeah, if we could just scan this one, that way we can just kind of take a poll of everyone. Where did it go? There we go. Oops. Jonathan, are you going to show the results?
I can show the results. I'm just waiting for people to finish scanning.
Okay.
Is everyone done scanning? Everyone on Facebook and on the Zoom call?
Oh, looks like we got an applause sign, yes, and so good to see your faces. Yes.
Awesome. Let me go ahead and pull up the results, and then I'll share the screen.
Hi, Kennedy. So I guess we have a lot of planners. Everyone is in America. That's kind of saw that part coming. We got a good amount of dessert, entertainment. I think this basically is a good variety of people. I think we've got a really good mix of vendors here. So I'll definitely just jump right into it and get started on my part, which is to, again, welcome everyone here. Thank you so much for being a part of this conversation. I really want you to, and I'm Lauren Chumbley. I am your president-elect. I'll be your president of ILEA in about 7 days. And I really want you to just feel like this is an extended power hour where we're sitting around doing a lot of idea sharing and a lot of conversation. While you're not talking, please make sure to mute yourself. But please feel very comfortable at any point to unmute and give your opinion or ask other questions. You can put questions in the chat. We did have a very high amount of questions submitted from Eventbrite. Some of them we already had on our list. Some of them we've incorporated. We're going to try to get to as many as possible. Also, feel free to put questions on the Facebook Live stream, and I'll be looking at those and queuing those to Kim as well. But I'm just going to go ahead and introduce our moderator in just a sec. I really meant to look at my list. If you haven't renewed, just some housekeeping things. If you haven't renewed with ILEA yet, please reach out to me. There are a lot of opportunities for financial help from headquarters. If you need help with that, please let me know. Or if you have any questions about your renewal, we're trying to get those in by June 30th. And then be on the lookout for an actual live event in person that we will be having. We'll be sending out some communication about that by next week. Now I'm really going to introduce Kim. So this is Kimberly Carrillo. She is meticulous at planning and organizational skills. They're part of her recipe for every successful cupcake bar event. From building menus and coordinating logistics to managing client communication and overseeing our cupcake bartender team, Kim handles many behind the scenes details and the finishing touches that put the icing on the cupcakes and smiles on guests' faces. Her background includes extensive experience in event planning and wedding coordination, as well as a business management degree from Texas State University. She is also an active member of the International Live Events Association. Besides cupcakes, a few of Kimberly's favorite things are coffee, traveling, and spending time with her dogs, Dean and Winchester, and her fiance, her new fiance. It's my pleasure to introduce Kimberly Carrillo with the Cupcake Bar.
Hi guys, hopefully everyone can hear me. I did this correctly. Again, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you, ILEA, for having me moderate. So as Jonathan explained, we will be using our phones, our cameras to do the QR codes for the polling. And then what are we talking about today? So we're talking about COVID rescheduling, and if the events are stopping in the spring, summer events, we need to come together and talk through the realization that fall 2020 event season will not look the same as potentially spring 2021. So this is what we're going to jump into the polls. So the first question that we're going to be talking about is, are you charging a rescheduling fee? So I'm going to have Jonathan queue up that QR code, and then everyone get out their phones and scan and then vote your question, and then yeah, we'll see what everyone answers.
And just a note, since we do have a slight delay on the Facebook stream versus the current Zoom meeting that we're in, to make sure the Facebook participants can participate, we will keep up this QR code a little bit longer.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Jonathan.
Is everyone good in the Zoom room for voting? If so, just use the reactions, the thumbs up reactions.
Jonathan, are you putting up a link in the chat if they aren't able to vote through the QR code by chance?
Definitely, give me 1 second.
Okay, thank you. All right. So while Jonathan, I think Jonathan just posted the link in the chat. So if anyone's having issues with their phone or camera, go ahead and click that link. And then while we get those results from Facebook and the QR code polling, is anyone charging a rescheduling fee that would like to talk out and unmute themselves and see, start the conversation on here? What do we have on here? Let's see. Oh, I can pick on someone. Yeah.
So
Okay.
I did not charge a rescheduling fee when the government was under lockdown. So I gave everybody like one free change, and I'm still offering that to my clients. But if they are wanting to reschedule for a second date, then I'm not. Then I will be charging a fee.
Okay. Anybody else similar to Chris Elaine? Are they
Yeah, we're doing
the first one?
We're doing the same thing, and we kind of got screwed over by not having that we've already had the second rescheduling wave happen, and we were kind of screwed over by that. So yeah, we definitely have, if you reschedule for a second time, there is a fee associated now.
So are y'all doing this because we are not having like enough staffing, or what's like, are like to not, because I know one of the questions that was proposed in the Eventbrite was, is they don't have enough staffing, so that's why we're charging a second fee, or how are y'all handling communicating that to your guests? So like, let's say you double booked on your reschedule, so now you don't have the staff, or what is it that is prompting that second fee, if that makes sense?
Experience. Like I said, I think we just got screwed over. Like I didn't realize that was going to happen, and I think the fact that the government's so unsure on when things, like there's no like definite date of when things are going to be back to like where we can do big events. We have to have that, and it's like a $500 fee for every time you postpone after that. So if you postpone 3 times, that's $1,000, you know? So just because experience, like we should have had that in there in March, but I didn't think that they'd have to reschedule twice. So I don't know about you, Chris Elaine.
We part of the problem is staff. So like even if our event doesn't go through, we've already hired our staff for that day, so we still have to pay them. So that $500 fee doesn't completely cover our staff, but it certainly helps. Not to mention that now, like we've already saved a date for them that we could have potentially booked a lot other clients, and so now we're not making any money on that date. So it just kind of helps us like get through, because we keep saving dates for these people, which are dates that we can't take on other clients. So it's a necessity. We're not making any money off of it, that's for sure. We're still losing money.
Yeah. So we got the polls up. I think y'all all can see the screen that Jonathan shared. A lot of people answered no. Would anybody that answered no be willing to speak up and share why they aren't charging a rescheduling fee?
Good morning.
Hey, Alfred.
So we are not, I mean, truly, I think what this is it's what I call act of God that we cannot control. And we try to, to work with the clients, work with the venue. It's something that we cannot control. And basically, we all try to all work together between the venue, the couple. I mean, we have a wedding coming up in August that's been moved 4 times.
Wow.
Because the photographer can't do it, and she's already paid everybody out in full, and it's somehow all this will work itself out, and I believe in karma.
Yeah.
I don't want to screw anybody, and but I have a venue that says, well, we don't give money back to anyone,
right?
Because we got an overhead and rent and all that. And I said, well, I do too. I have a kitchen rent and electricity and insurance, but I can't control that. We have a shutdown or we're in stage 4 or whatever. So,
thank you for sharing, Alfred. No, that's great. Thank you so much. Jonathan, why don't we go to the second poll question?
Can I clarify really quick too? Like, we're not we're not charging people that we already have contracted without the fee. So like technically they could reschedule as many times as they want until they sign a new contract, and which we could do. We could send that out. But it's really if you have the contract in there with that. But yeah, I just wanted to clarify, like, it's only if you sign the new contract.
Awesome, thank you. So here's the next QR code. If you are charging a fee, is a percentage or a flat rate? We'll give y'all a minute to answer that, and then we'll go to see if anybody has wanting to open it up to the guests here to answer the question.
Just give it a couple more minutes just in case for the people on Facebook.
Okay.
So if you're listening on Facebook, please enter in your answers.
So while y'all answer this QR code, there is a question that kind of tied to the last one. For those that are not charging their scheduling fee, have you been able to fill those old dates? Anybody want to jump in? Alfred, how about you? I know you aren't charging. Have you been able to fill, or has it been in times where you can't have an event due to the government or the state shutting down?
I had only one client that actually sent a check to pay all the employees for canceling an event, and she was a nonprofit raising money for scholarships, and I said, no, I can't accept this, and she goes, no. She goes, we have the money, and so I had all the employees write thank you cards, and then yesterday she booked, she rebooked for 2021, 2022, so.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Good. Any other people that aren't charging that have y'all been able to fill in any of those dates?
Hey, DJ Gatsby here, John. Yeah, for the most part I have, but now I have these reschedules into December 2021, and it's like, oh my God. But I do thankfully have some DJs who work with me, and for like 2 gigs I haven't been able to do, they have been very receptive to my people instead. So it could be a worse situation for me.
That's good. I'm so glad to hear that. All right, let's see. Let's go on to another question while we finish Facebook polling. Oh wait, okay, I think you got it. All right, so Jonathan, do you want to read that to us on who voted? You want to explain the votes?
Sure. So we have a majority saying they're charging
part of the co-signing of
the flat fees, and then not charging flat fee and not charging fee, and then the lowest ones they're charging a percentage. So looks like we had 11 responses total. And some people said, 2 of them said they were charging a percentage, and the rest are the other ones. So
the wiring.
Who would you recommend to talk?
He did. Okay, perfect. Awesome. Thank you, Jonathan. I guess that's pretty self-explanatory. If anybody wants to talk about why they're charging the flat fee versus percentage, I'd be happy to hear y'all's thoughts. But if not, I can move on to the next polling question. So if you want to pull that up, Jonathan, and I believe it's, are you offering them a refund of some kind if they cancel outright? So, and Jonathan, can you put the link in the chat for this question, please? While I have y'all voting, out of curiosity, Chris Elaine, how are you like explaining the rescheduling fees to your clients? Like, how are you?
Pretty much exactly that. I just explained to them that just because they've changed their date, we've already got staff that have committed, and a lot of our staff have other jobs. So like they have taken off work for that day, and so they're depending on us to pay them because we've promised them work. So I haven't had any pushback from them about, understanding that, or understanding like, we've already given you another date.
Open the food.
Excuse me. So I haven't had a lot of pushback from it. They understand.
Open.
That's good. And do we have any other vendors in here? Like Dolores, are we seeing any rental? Like, are y'all charging fees or any pushback with that? Any insight on that side?
I can speak to that. I actually don't know most of you. I'm Sydney. I work for AFR. I just took over our Austin market in June, so I'm still last June, so I guess a year ago, but obviously with COVID, haven't really gotten a chance to get to know all of you that well, but it's been a little bit of a different process for us. Typically, our cancellation policy is 100% refund within 7 days, because what we do, being such a specialty kind of niche market in rentals and furniture, typically there isn't that much planning, if you will, that goes into it. And then prior to this, it was within 3 days, 50%. Since then, when COVID we first realized that it was going to be here for a while, we implemented a quote unquote peace of mind policy, which was just an additional document that we sent out with our contract saying that because of everything going on, that cancellation policy was now 100% within 48 hours. But what that does not include is any special transfers that we had done prior to that. Typically, we don't charge for transfers anyway, but if there had been something brought in, say from Dallas or from another market outside of Texas, especially for a specific job that does cancel within 48 hours, that was a hard cost for us. So we will be charging those fees, and we did actually just extend that peace of mind policy through the rest of the year, just since, like everyone's been saying, we're just not sure what's happening the rest of the year.
Nice. And how are the clients, are they handling that okay with those
They
fees?
completely understand. They are super thankful that we've implemented this policy. And honestly, we probably haven't had anyone cancel within 48 hours since March. Like kind of those 2 weeks when it first really started is when we saw that very, very last minute. But since then, if anyone is canceling, I mean, it's weeks, months out.
Well, welcome to the Austin market. It was nice to meet you. We're excited to see you at happy hours once live events start happening again. But Dolores, I saw you raise your hand, so if you want to jump in with your feedback as well.
Sure. Initially, there were more transfer dates, postponements than there were cancellations. As cancellations started to rack up, we took the position that we were not going to issue immediate refunds for canceled dates. This was while we were in actual lockdown, so people didn't have a choice. They simply couldn't do it. But what we did tell them was we wouldn't be issuing refunds until 60 to 90 days after we reopened for business, which for us was May the 11th. So all of the EIDL that Premier was fortunate enough to be given or loaned will be used to issue refunds. However, I am now done with that. So we are not going to issue refunds going forward. I'm also of the position that if you can and you choose not to, that is a different matter than if you can't. If we're closed again, I'll cross that bridge, if and when we come to it. We are redoing our contracts and putting a force majeure clause in. So new contracts will be signed and executed under those conditions. But yeah, it is a ton of money. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I can't imagine all the event rental refunds that y'all have to do. Are a lot of other vendors redoing their contracts and doing force majeures? Anybody want to speak up on that? Any venues maybe? Lily, are y'all doing anything? Katie, I see.
I'll speak to that. So we're currently working on a new contract. However, since the Bullock is a state facility, it's not going into effect as quickly as would be convenient for my operations. So really all my current contracted clients are still on our old terms, which has an impossibility of performance. So if we're not open, we can't host you, we'll refund you. Otherwise, we're sticking to our regular cancellation schedule and fees. We were being lenient with folks while the emergency orders were in place, but since those have lifted, we're sticking to our normal schedule. So no refunds on deposits within 90 days. You can reschedule, but if you are rescheduling within 30 days, there is a $250 fee, and it's a flat fee for us as a venue. And we're not rebooking dates because things are so uncertain.
She's not rebooking dates. What was that? Oh, she said she's not rebooking dates. Oh, okay. Jonathan, do we have the poll answers from that last one? Thank you so much, Lily.
Yes, let me get it up.
Oh, okay, perfect. All right. So just as a reminder, the question was, are you offering them a refund of some kind if they cancel outright? And most people are saying no, which is pretty normal for the conversation. We had 4 that said yes. So that's awesome. The next question is, have you been consulting with your own lawyer? So while he pulls up the QR code for that, I have some follow-up questions to that we can start talking about here on the poll. Oh, that's a different question than what I had, which is totally fine. We can switch.
Sorry, give me a second. Let me pull up the right one.
Okay, cool. The QR code for. All right, here we go. Have you been consulting with your own lawyer? And so some questions I want to pose to y'all is, have you had any clients bring up them talking to their own lawyers? They're like like if they as they're how many times have y'all been threatened with a lawyer?
I can speak on that. We had a couple who threatened to bring in a lawyer because we weren't going to allow them to cancel and get a full refund. So we negotiated partial refund. Just to like, here's the thing: if you take this, all this goes away. Otherwise, it's going to cost you a lot more money to hire a lawyer, and like, you know, and then fight with us over something that honestly, like, your contract is pretty solid. So, you know, and they ended up taking it. They ended up taking the partial, or I think they even might have. She wasn't going to postpone, but I think she ended up postponing because she couldn't get out. But I think that with the I said yes to the refunds for cancellations, but with the caveat, because it's not that we're doing a full refund. We'll work with our clients to figure out like what's going to work best for us. Like we're not going to refund you the whole amount, but like, you know, I don't know. But yeah, the lawyer thing was very interesting. Also, the force majeure stuff is interesting too, because it doesn't, the gentleman from Event Alliance said that it doesn't really hold up or something. And then you have to have, Lauren, I don't know if you remember this, but you have to have, oh, he called it something else. Oh, like force majeure is good, but then you got to have this other thing.
Is it frustration of contract? Sorry, it's Jenna. Sorry.
No, hey, Jenna. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna try and look it up because he talked about you got to have this other thing for COVID specifically to protect you, because force majeure, like, people, yeah, they can't call that out. I don't know. Anyways, I'll try and figure it out. But yeah, lawyer stuff's been really interesting too, and rewriting.
I'm Jenna with Creatrix Photography. I actually ended up with a lawyer actually a couple times, had clients sit there and get really frustrated. And I learned that there's a lot of different things that you have to have in your contract in order to not have your clients actually succeed in litigation against you. And one of the things is you got force majeure, of course, but then you also have frustration of contract. But both of them require an impossibility for you to conclude and execute your contract. But if they can reschedule, or if they are allowed to still have their event but not exactly as they want it to be, then it is still not considered an impossibility. Therefore, it does not fall under frustration of contract or force majeure.
Perfect. Thank you for your input, Jenna, and thanks for joining us. I saw that you just hopped in. And then I have another question to follow up that, are you seeing clients cancel after they've rescheduled their first wedding date because COVID is still an issue? This is right next to this one. Jonathan, was that on the poll? I have it listed as one of the poll questions, but I may have this incorrect. It might be, are you holding Prime Saturdays for new business?
Yes, yeah, let me get that one. We have that
Okay.
one in the poll system.
Thank you. While he pulls that up, does anyone want to give any insight on that other question that I just talked about? So are you seeing clients cancel or reschedule their first wedding date because of COVID still being an issue?
We are, for sure. I've had several people, actually, they did an initial postponement and now they're saying they want to cancel, and because of the contract terms, they technically are entitled to a full refund. So it's just an unfortunate situation.
Are you doing, and I know one of the questions that was sent in Eventbrite was, are you guys doing anything to persuade clients to keep the date? Are you able to do anything? Is it just a loss? Like,
I mean, if somebody wants to cancel, like, I completely understand, you know, so I'm just operating within the parameters of our contract.
Perfect. Anybody else want to give any, what they're doing at for their company on those two questions, whether it be second reschedule and how they're handling it, and if so.
I can speak to the Saturday one. I mean, this may be totally bad, but like, I'm definitely not holding Prime Saturdays for clients, for rescheduling, I mean. So like, yeah, I mean, like if they want to postpone or cancel and they're trying to postpone on a Saturday in a future, in the next year, I mean, I have every right to tell them my availability, and they don't know my availability. So I can create that availability however I want. So yeah, I mean, like I'm definitely not, I'm definitely thinking hard before allowing somebody to reschedule on a specific Saturday, because that is incoming money. Like, I'm losing out on money if I let a postponer move to a Saturday in the next year, because that date's gonna get filled no matter what. So I'm offering like off-season dates. I'm offering weekdays, just because I can't afford to lose those Saturdays as well.
Yeah. I'm curious to know what venues are doing. Katie, are you seeing that with weddings? Like, how are you handling that?
Yeah, this fall super sucks and it's not been fun. So the first go around when COVID first hit and everything was shut down, we allowed all of our spring and summer brides to move to what we had available in the fall. And a lot of them were really cool about it and appreciative. This go around, a lot of those brides are now wanting to push to the spring, and our contract's super solid. Like, you can't cancel for any reason once you book the date. And so now we're just getting pushed back because they want to like push it on further, because they thought we would be through all of this. So now what we're doing is, it's basically an elective move. You don't have to move at this point. So then you have to pay for it. You either can move it to a Monday through Thursday free of charge, or at a discounted rate for Saturday, Sunday weddings. But that's like 50% of what we would be making overall. So if it's like a $5,000 date, then we're only making 25 off of it, which kind of stinks, but it's just us trying to find a way to be as fair as possible and still make some money. So that's where we're at right now.
Thank you for sharing. John, are you seeing anything with that? Like, as far as, are you able, do you have enough, I know you mentioned you have a lot of DJs, so are you able to just like have the staff to just recover with other dates that you've had to replace or anything like that, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I think it's what I was referring to. In terms of Prime Saturdays, I would like to charge more, but I don't. I just think that I want to try to be as reasonable as I can, just feel for them as much as I can. But I haven't had any second reschedules, but this has been insightful for me because I'm gonna have to look into maybe craft my strategy. Like I recorded Vanessa Voss's $500 fee, or there's percentage. So this is good stuff for me to think about.
Thank you. Any photographers want to share what they might be doing in this situation? I think we have, is it Jenna? Jenna's our only
Yeah.
flip through here. Okay.
Yeah, so like at the very beginning, I took the cue from other people in the industry and charged a nominal rescheduling fee of $500. And it's not in the contract, but it does state in my contract that if they change the wedding date at all, it is considered a cancellation. And I reserve the right to cancel and not give them back any money. So I looked at it as, well, if you want me to violate my contract to help you, this is what I need in return. And then, you know, I've had some clients that have been incredibly unreasonable. And so I re-strengthened my contract and I now have a $700 rescheduling fee. But what I've started doing is I tell the client, like I just had a client, I don't think it's COVID related at all, but this is still a good example where she's rescheduling her April wedding next year. And there, in that contract, there isn't a fee or anything. It doesn't really touch base on rescheduling because, like, how often did reschedules happen before this? So my contract didn't really have that covered.
Yeah.
So I told her it's a $700 fee because it's a prime Saturday in April, and she wanted to switch it to a prime Saturday in October. And I told her, I was like, it's a $700 fee, but here's what I can do for you. Since it's so far out, if I end up booking that day, that your fee is waived. If I don't end up booking that day, then you are still owing that money. And she's like, you know what? I get it. You need to make money. That's totally fair, you know? And I felt that was a good compromise to set boundaries and expectations, and also make sure that I'm making the money that I need to feed my family and survive. Definitely.
We're doing the same thing. I don't know what you. I know Lauren said she's doing the same thing for her planners, so love it. Thank you so much for sharing.
Sure.
I think we have one more poll question, Jonathan, if you want to pull that up. Are you seeing spring 2021 weddings reschedule? Oh, that's right. We added one more after that. Sorry about that. Okay. So while he pulls that up,
we actually are going to have another question after that as well.
Yes, Lauren reminded me. Perfect. So if y'all want to scan that, and if y'all are having trouble, again, I believe Jonathan is posting them in the chat function. That way you guys can do that as well. Any questions that clients may be clients may be asking you due to all this, all the COVID or surrounding COVID? Are there any questions that are popular throughout the industry that are being asked to y'all as the experts?
So we've been seeing a lot of people just wanting to know what precautions that we're doing. So most of our clients are corporate. So in that vein, when COVID first hit, we gave them just 1 year to reschedule because most of the time they're conferences or festivals or larger events. So they usually would have to take the credit and move it next year. And we just didn't charge them a rescheduling fee, and we won't charge them one probably now for 2 years, as long as it's COVID related. Now, if it's just on a whim, like they pick a date and then they're like, oh, just kidding, we want to change dates for fun, that'd be something totally different. But our contract originally stipulated there's always a rescheduling like fee, or like we keep the retainer basically. But now I think everyone just wants to know how safe we are, like what the precautions are. What are you guys doing to actively mitigate any risk on behalf of your team, their guests, their vendor partners as well? Because like everyone knows, like if you find out someone has COVID in that event, you need to self-quarantine for 14 days, which means that puts your entire event team that was on site there gone for 14 days. And if you have events back to back, that's really going to put you in a bind right there.
Yeah. You mentioned rebooking and letting people book out for a year. What is the furthest that anyone is letting them rebook as far like, are y'all letting people rebook out into 2022, 2021? Like what are?
Yeah, social events, anything that's non-corporate gets up to a year, and anything that's corporate gets 2 years. And some of our corporate clients have already indicated they will not be planning any large events until after the 12-month mark from right now. So they won't be planning anything until like 18 months from now. So we had to allocate to 2 years for them.
Anyone else? Anyone else having that catering? Any of our caterers on here having to reschedule a crazy amount of time away from the original date?
Alfred, did you want to say something? Oh, he's muted. Jonathan, can you take him off mute?
I think they can unmute themselves in the corner. I don't think ILEA is controlling that.
Okay. Well, I'll just talk really quick. Yeah, I've only had one client who was December of 2020 this year moved to December 2021 next year, and I was like, what? Because I'm like, I'm getting married in December 2020, so I better be able to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've actually had a lot of inquiries coming in for 2022, not postponements. So it's like, I'm getting, which is interesting for catering because we do not know where food prices are going to be in 2022. So my contracts are pretty tight that with food pricing, like if it goes up or down, like my contract will too, or the pricing will too, if the market goes up or down. But yeah, I haven't had a lot of postponements to 2022, just inquiries. I don't know about you, Alfred.
Yeah, it's the same thing. People are looking out to 2022. I mean, what I do most of the time now in the day is walking every mother of the bride of what to do, because the reservations are not coming in, so, and we don't know, and we have these rentals that we have to pull the trigger. So it's tough. Can I tell you something funny? My biggest concern is, am I going to be alive in 2021?
Oh my God. Alfred, that's so morbid. Oh my goodness.
I got with my lawyer about 2 weeks ago, and we drew up and like, okay, who wants the company? Who I'm going to give it the company?
Oh, Fred.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Not funny.
And I also and I set up an account that when I get my deposits, I have it in my clause, in my will, like, okay, this money goes back to these people when I die.
Oh my goodness. So we have the poll answers here. So majority of y'all, or 9 of y'all, voted no to rescheduling spring weddings being rescheduled, and 4 yes. So I wonder if that's going to be a recurring theme now, and we're going to start getting those emails. So I'll be interested to see what other vendors have to say as the month progresses, or as July starts, see what that looks like. Yeah. To that question, how much of your business do you think you might lose in the fall, either to rescheduling or cancellation? I know, for example, Cupcake Bar just got a couple, the second reschedule wave, so we're starting to see that slowly. So I'm wondering, any other vendors seeing that on their end on fall business starting to be rescheduled?
Yes.
Oh, cool. Do I need to sign anything? Okay.
I have a September wedding that just canceled. Let's see. Yeah, I think Vanessa, we're probably on the same one. The December at Prospect House going to December 2021. They're the best.
They're awesome, yeah. But I was just like, really? Okay.
Town people, that's the thing too. Like if we have out of town wedding clients, I think they're more apt to play it safe. So yeah, this is tenuous ground we're dealing with. I had something insightful to say and I messed it up. My bad, buddy. Sorry.
You're totally fine.
Oh yeah, I'm just trying to think worst case now, maybe 1 year one good year of earnings maybe is now going to be spread into 2 years. That's just how I'm mentally wrapping my head around this at this point.
That sounds terrible. I'm not looking forward to it whatsoever.
Yeah.
Okay. So, oh, turn that one up. Sorry, Kim and I are in the same room, so we're trying to figure out our echo. But I hope everyone's sitting down because I literally have a phone call tomorrow with clients that want to postpone to 2024. They want to look at everyone's face. They want to start a family between now and then. She's 38 now, and if they postpone to next year, she'll be 40 by then, and just doesn't want to keep wondering and just go ahead and start making babies now. And so that's their reasoning behind it. But it's just a conversation I need to start having with some of the vendors, but I don't anticipate that being the norm. I will say though, with all the volume that we do with Eclipse, I really think about 40% of our fall weddings are going to move or cancel outright. And for us, when their final payment comes up, our contract's pretty solid about the retainer is non-refundable, but you know, we don't want to keep working or start the work 30 days out when the final balance is due if they want to cancel. So I think for the most part, we've been pretty good about letting them walk away from their second payment as long as we haven't started working within the 30 days of it. But yeah, I'm just going to call 2020 and 2021 kind of a wash, but that's why we had been saving so much just to keep the business going. But that's why we're also kind of just letting our planners decide. Some will impose their own rescheduling fee and some won't, but from what my lawyer said, we intentionally did not put a force majeure in our contract. There was an impossibility clause, but basically that's been giving us the flexibility of, you know, holding to the retainer being non-refundable as well as imposing a rescheduling fee. I don't remember his lawyery jargon, but that's what we've been experiencing either way. But we're doing what Jenna's doing, which is if they reschedule and we impose a fee, but we sell the date, then we'll go back and waive that fee later, which it makes it an easier pill to swallow.
Nice. Thank you, Lauren, for sharing. Jonathan, why don't we get that last poll question up, and that way people can start voting on that last one. And then I have a couple more questions that were asked in the Eventbrite. And then we'll go over those. So while he pulls that poll QR code up, it is, are you proactively reaching out to clients to let them know about rescheduling policies? So while y'all are answering that, follow-up questions, are you guys modifying terms and conditions with reschedules? Let's see, who do we have on here? Who hasn't? Sydney, are y'all doing anything in the rental with AFR?
We are not technically redoing our terms and conditions, especially because the software system we use, it's not that convenient for us to update something like that. So we're essentially just sending along this like peace of mind policy, which actually is a letter from the vice president of the company, just saying we stand with you. Here's what we're doing. Anything within 48 hours. Because at the end of the day, for the most part, we haven't seen too many cancel within that anyway. So most likely, if they are canceling, they're already within our standard terms, which is that 7 days. But in terms of the poll question as well, because of that, I have been sending that peace of mind policy out to our corporate clients, especially here in Texas with a lot of local corporate companies that we are hoping, especially towards the holiday season, are willing to do something, depending on what the climate is, obviously, by that time. So making sure that our partners, our bigger clients know, hey, you know, because we want to make sure that our planners, our venues, our caterers know what we're doing, know our policies. So when they have people reach out, they won't hesitate to say, oh, I'm going to call AFR because I know that they already have a good, you know, flexible clause in place.
That's great.
And I wanted to speak on that question too, because I feel like you have to be really careful with prompting people on your rescheduling. I don't really want my clients to do that. So I feel like prompting them with the ability to reschedule is not a really good idea. I mean, I don't know what everyone else thinks, but I've just been sending out, like Sydney was saying, just safety precautions. Like, here's how we can do your event. Here's how we're going to make it happen. Instead of like, here's how you can get out of it. I just feel like prompting them to reschedule is not a good idea. I'm letting them come to me if they have issues. Yeah, just my 2 cents.
I think I want to offer some clarity on the question. What's being prompted right now is, I think, similar to what you're doing of like, you know, your wedding's this fall. These are what the standards are right now from the governor. This is what you can expect. And maybe that email goes into, if you're looking to reschedule, here are the fees that are aligning, but we are good to have your wedding on this date. You know, it's at this point, we're ready for it. We're preparing. Here's what we're doing. Not necessarily encouraging them, I think, to reschedule.
I think I don't know. I think even putting it in their head. I don't know.
I think it's something that planner would be more apt, because they really have to oversee the whole greater.
Sure.
I'm
yeah.
sorry to interrupt you, Vanessa, on that one.
Yeah, that makes sense, Lauren.
I would agree with Lauren. Yeah, we would definitely let them know like what the regulations are right now, and because it's like a fluid situation, it keeps changing, and we don't know. Like right now, it just changed yesterday. Like there was a new thing that came down in Texas, so we don't know where we're going to be in August, and we have a lot of events that rescheduled from the spring to August now, and now they're getting kind of concerned. But I think it helps give them peace of mind to let them know that you as a vendor are worried about, you know, event safety for them, because sometimes, you know, there's a lot of misinformation out there, and our job is kind of to distill it into truths and then send it out. And I think even though we're supposed to be responsible for distilling it, we as industry professionals are having problems doing that because there's a lack of guidance in general. So I think that's kind of why it's good that we have everyone here, like an ILEA, to talk through it and figure out like how we should approach events in general as we're reopening. So, I mean, that's kind of my take on it. And we've been letting our clients know in August, and some of them have rescheduled again. So it's like the second rescheduling.
Can I chime in?
Okay, go ahead, yes.
Again, from the venue standpoint, I think it's responsible to let clients know what their options are. You know, I'm not actively encouraging anybody away, but I am reaching out to my, you know, September, October, November clients and saying, this is where we are capacity wise. You know, I have some people contracted for, you know, events with 400 people that realistically we're not going to be able to host their full capacity. So I'm letting them know this is what you should anticipate guest count wise, this is what we're doing, and then per your contract terms, these are important dates for you to make decisions by.
I like that. I like that, kind of like a guide to how to make decisions, when to make decisions, and just educating them as a venue person. That's awesome. And then two, like kind of to tie along with those questions, someone asked in Eventbrite, if the government were to shut down, will you be charging a rescheduling fee? Anybody?
Hello, this is Lori. Can you hear me? I heard that, Lauren. I know. Well, as you know, we are actually not charging a rescheduling fee at all either. So I just wanted to chime in on that. I'm with a cupcake bar, and of course, if the government shuts down, there's really nothing anyone can do. We are in a little bit of a unique situation because we can run several events, you know, at a time. We can run, you know, whereas like a venue, for example, can only run one event a night. So it's for us, it's okay. So we're choosing not to do that right now. Knock on wood, it hasn't become a problem just yet. But you know, things can also change very quickly, as we know, and we learn with every experience and every change and every contract revision as well. So that's kind of our stance on it right now.
What about you, Dolores? Are y'all going to be doing anything like if the government were to shut down? How will how will Premier handle that?
I don't know. I'm hoping I don't need to face that situation. But listening to all of you all talk, I'm not sure it's a bad idea. And I'll talk to my team about this. We meet on Thursdays. I'll talk to my team about the possibility of sending out an email and saying, hey, look, if you're allowed to hold your event and you choose not to, that's on you. I'm not sure that it's a bad thing to put that out. I've written several recent blog posts about celebrating safely as well, and just reiterating to people who are on my books, hey, we can help you do this safely. Our product is safe, our truck is safe, our people are safe. You can do it safely as well. And so after today's discussion, I'm seriously considering that that's a proactive and appropriate thing to do.
I love that. I love that. Thank you for sharing. Jonathan, do you want to pull up? I saw that the results were in. If you don't mind pulling that up, we can take a look. So a lot of people are answered no, or 7 people answered no, and then we had 3 people answer yes. So that's great, and hopefully this conversation helped answer or direct more conversations for other people for their clients as well. So I have one more question on here that came in from Eventbrite, and so the question is, with projected guest count decreasing, what are ways you are recapturing lost income? Let's see who's on here.
Okay, I'll talk. So we've been doing virtual cooking shows for companies to create, like, I mean, all these companies are working from home and they're like super bored, I guess. So we've, and I think Jonathan, actually, Booth Easy is also doing something similar to this. But yeah, we've had a few companies reach out and we're setting up, you know, monthly cooking show with them where I just literally stream a Zoom to everyone watching, and they'll cook along with my chef Megan, or she'll just cook and then we'll send them the recipe and stuff. But it's something that they can do with their family at home, but then also just something different. The companies are trying to still create culture virtually. So that's been really fun and a good little chunk of income. So
nice, that's awesome. Are y'all opening it up to the public, or is it just for the corporate clients?
Yeah, so if I do the public, I don't get paid. No, I'm just kidding. I want to do, no, if I could do an event, and it's just a lot more complicated. It would be a lot of ticket selling, and Megan and I are just 2 people trying to make that happen. I think that is definitely something for the future that we would want to do. It worked really well with ILEA when we did the Cinco de Mayo cooking show. And we're actually moving into events, so it's going to become harder. But yes, that's on my radar. It's just a lot more work on our end. So
no, I totally get that. I think Lori and I are trying to figure out something very similar with cupcakes and like summer camps and stuff like that. So I get trying to figure that out with the public and how that works and how to manage that. I'm going to read what Chris Elaine said in case anyone didn't read it in the chat, but she says, often we are seeing that clients have more money to spend on fun things when their guest count goes down. They have more to put into their decor, so that's how they are working on their on like getting funds where their guest count are decreasing. And then see. Who else can help answer this question? Jenna, how are y'all? How are photographers doing it?
You know, everybody has all these ideas to give me, you know, and some photographers have been able to pivot by doing like education or selling presets. Neither are a strong suit. Like, I like teaching, but to build an entire like platform to teach and then also like give something that's unique that hasn't already been out there for the past decade is just, it felt more daunting to try to create a new voice in an already overburdened sector of the industry that I don't know. I'm trying to work on dealing with my clients. I'm working on my own education to become a better photographer. I'm revamping my whole brand. I redid my contract. So I'm trying to strengthen the foundation of my company rather than trying to over diversify and exhaust myself. But like I said, there are some photographers that are doing things a little differently, but it's generally because they already had that in place or close to being in place that they were able to do it.
Nice. I love that. I love that. I know Cupcake Bar is doing doing virtual boxes and all that fun stuff, virtual happy hours, and we're creating custom boxes for corporate companies and all that fun stuff to try to pivot on our end. Oh, it looks like we have a Facebook question. Give me 1 second. I was gonna ask. All right, I'm gonna let Lauren read it so that way.
I'm only reading it because it looks like it's from Dave with Cloudcraft, and I think I'm one of the only planners on the call. Are planners taking vendors' rescheduling postponement policies into consideration when suggesting vendors to their clients moving forward? I guess to answer that question, we as planners, at least from our end, are not suggesting the rescheduling. If I'm reading that question right, am I reading it right? It says, are planners taking vendors' rescheduling postponement policies into consideration when suggesting vendors to clients moving forward? Okay, so new clients, are we taking that into consideration? Got it. If I'm being overly optimistic, I would say no, because I feel like by the people who are booking us now are the fall of 2021 and some spring 2022. So ideally that wouldn't be under consideration. But at the end of the day, we're referring clients just based on who is the best fit and who's in the price point that works for our client, and who we work the best with. But to kind of go on a little bit more of a tangent, that we do want to be as respectful as possible to our vendors and empathize. And that's something that I've had to talk to our planners a lot lately about, is finding empathy for the client, but as well as the policies that your vendor has. And, you know, not so much questioning the pricing of the rescheduling fee, because we found out, for example, there's a florist that charged one of our clients 1% and another client a different percentage for rescheduling, and just trying to kind of meet in the middle with everyone. So that's where we're coming from with all of it. Empathy. I'll go back.
All right. Does anybody have any questions that we didn't cover? I know there was a lot of Eventbrite questions, and I think we covered the majority of them if they weren't already duplicate or on our poll. Open it up to the floor. Anything that we didn't cover?
Actually, I wanted to ask my fellow industry, friends here if, my role as a DJ is it could be more challenging than some folks who maybe just show up, drop something off and leave and pick it up. I have to be there, like on premises. So I've been talking to my fellow DJs about social distancing kind of things that I can do to maintain my safety. But I've been getting some immediate inquiries like outdoor pool parties. And I imagine people who are reaching out in the near future about events, maybe they don't treat COVID as seriously as some other people are. And I am feeling a little neurotic about, or uncomfortable when I have to qualify every opportunity and ask, hey, can I get this? Is this okay? And I want to do that. Has anyone here, had to, qualify and ask these questions about this social distancing, and have they been getting like any not so nice responses of like, oh, come on, or give me a break? Or have people been like, no, I appreciate what you're doing and I want to make it work?
Hey, John, it's Lori. Hi. I literally just went through this yesterday. One of the planners that we work with is rescheduling an open house, and it's in August. And also yesterday we hit 5,000 cases of COVID. I'm like you, I'm definitely more cautious because we do deal with people and we try to take care of our team and, our team's family and our families. And so, and of course the general public, but I kind of was just asking all the questions of like, will there be social distancing? Like, I don't want to confirm or commit to anything if I don't know that y'all are not going to have precautions to protect not only our team, but our vendors that we're working with, as well as the people coming. It's not even about a blame situation. It's more about just protecting ourselves. And because, like for us and, for a lot of people here, we're a small team. If someone here gets it, unfortunately, we have to shut down. So I just don't know, like, we can't really afford to do that right now. So that's just our stance on it. I think you have to ask the questions, and if they get upset over it, maybe they're not taking it as serious. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I'm wondering if any potential client, any of y'all have talked to have been pushing back against this, or have they been respectful?
So, can you hear me?
Hi, Ruth. Yeah.
Okay, so this is Ruth, SPC Wedding and Event. I'm an event planner or wedding planner. So I had my first wedding after the pandemic this last Saturday. And before that time, I had to actually educate my bride. I made her put all the precautions and all the stuff on her website, which she did. I made it mandatory that for me to actually coordinate the rehearsal, everybody has to at least have the 6 feet distancing and also have their mask on, which they did. Everybody was okay with that. I actually contacted all the vendors and the venue and asked for their plan towards the precautions, the COVID and all that, which they also did. But to my surprise, at the event, everybody had their mask, but they weren't wearing it. I mean, the guests. I was so shocked. All my vendors had their mask on. The DJ has his on. The photographer didn't have hers on. I questioned her, but she felt she was okay with that. I can't force her. I had mine on all through. The caterers had theirs on all through. But then my guests, it was just 44 guest count, fine. I made sure I spaced the floor plan as possible, yes. But then the thing is, they all, at a point in time, at the beginning for the ceremony, they had their mask on, but at the midway of the ceremony, everybody just had the mask as as a figurehead in their hand or like something. So I was like, oh my God, this is real. But I still had mine on all through. There was a time I actually talked to a guest and wanted to tell the guest that, oh, it's your table, it's your turn to go have your food, because it was a buffet setting. And this guest was like, I can't hear you. And I'm like, I'm not going to remove my mask. I kept saying it, you got to move. It's like, I can't hear you. Okay. So I actually had to use my hand to describe what I was trying to say. So I was like, you have to go get your food now. I'm not going to remove my mask for anything, So I actually had to do that. But afterwards, I noticed that the guest understood. This person actually came to me and said, well, I'm sorry. I really appreciate you're so professional. You had your mask all through and all that I didn't mean to be rude and that. And can I have more cake? I said, oh, yes, sure, you could have more cake. But I still had my mask on. So the bottom line is I want to protect myself. and I want to protect all my guests and my clients and everyone. So the fact that I attend more than one wedding every day is I am at a higher risk. So I need them to understand that I'm actually protecting you by having my mask on. Not about you, it's about me. Because next weekend, I'm going to be having a wedding for another set of 50 guests from different places. So you have to be comfortable with me wearing my mask, right? But then as much as I cannot educate all my guests on the event day, I can't educate them on that, just the little ones that I have the idea. But my own stand is whatever, I will make sure I preach. I practice what I preach. So when I tell my bride and my groom and everyone that these are my policies in my company, I will make sure I adhere to all the policy, irrespective of if they're comfortable about it or they're not comfortable about it.
Thanks, Ruth.
Yeah, and I wanted to speak on that for caterers as well, because we typically have the most staff on site. But I mean, I'm like Ruth, like we did our first event last week and no one wore a mask. And so the only thing I can do is protect my staff. I have 7 to 10 staff members on site at an event. Like I can't, it's a weird situation, because who's the person telling the client that they have to wear a mask? Who is that person? Because I don't think it should fall on the coordinator or I don't think it should fall on anyone specifically. Granted, if you have the backbone, Ruth, it sounds like you are awesome and you're telling people what's up, which is great. But a lot of people, are nervous about that. So I don't know, I did get pushback on masks. Someone, their wedding is in September and she was not happy that we were going to be wearing masks. And I'm like, I'm sorry, you want us to cater? We're going to be wearing masks. There's no discussion about it. Because like Ruth said, we do multiple events in a day. If one of my staff member gets sick, then we're out for 2 weeks. So yeah, it's just such a hard situation. But I mean, we are taking on events right now, but we're very clear about, another thing too, is we've been emailing and contacting our venues. Luckily, we have strong relationships with all of our wedding venues. And so I am emailing them or talking to them and saying hey, are you following these policies from the state? What are you doing? So I'm checking in with that before we even arrive. And if that stuff's not happening, I'm sending them links. I'm like, hey, the government's telling you to do this. They're telling you to do this. Kind of bothering venues till they tell me why they're not, so it's a lot more work, but I think that's been beneficial. So.
I think to John's question, DJ The Mood, also an ILEA member, was mentioning, he's like, I have a social distancing discount. And I was like, can you clarify that? And so I don't know how it could work for everyone else. It would not work for a planner since we need to be in front of people for the most part, but he said he gives them $100 off. And it means that he can be in the corner and nobody can come up to him. And if the planner needs something, or if a guest wants to request a song, they can text him. And so he's left alone the entire event. So I don't know if that's something, it would be hard for a photographer to do as well, since they need to be giving direction, but it could be something to consider for you with all your pool parties opportunities this summer. And maybe it's not a discount, but maybe it's a standard.
Absolutely, on that, I'm with you.
Yeah.
No one's getting, there's not as much pushback as I fear there are, especially in this state. So. Yeah.
So I know I saw John at an event not so long ago. So it's interesting because we have events not in Austin, so like in Dallas and other places. So there's a lot of pushback in other cities that are not Austin, where they're like, oh no, we don't want your staff wearing masks. We're like, oh no, they're gonna wear masks. And then we just have to say this is going to be protocol until good regulations happen. But in Austin, I feel like everyone's been pretty amiable about it. And we do bring crowd control, those little pylons with the little the rope off to rope things off. And we did that actually. I think John used a set of ours to block off his area.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I've been there called stanchions. I just learned that.
Oh yeah, stanchions. Yeah. I just call them crowd control because we use them to like prevent crowds in like big conventions. But yeah, but
you could just block yourself like
yeah,
completely.
so you just block yourself with those, and then so we have them in our inventory, and they've been super helpful for like highly crowded events back pre-COVID. But now they're kind of like a default. You bring it to events to just kind of have the line waiting away from our attendants because our team's on site, and then we've updated a lot of our technology, so now it's all automatically triggered. Like they shouldn't have to touch anything, and if they do, we have antibacterial wipes and like Purell on site for our staff because they said that would make them feel more comfortable. But in terms of clients, I think I don't know. What I'm afraid of is once we get to the point where it's open bar again and we have those kind of events, I don't know what that equation will look like with open bar.
Yep.
Well, and I don't know if we're going to say, and that's a whole conversation. That's a whole nother power hour of sorts or meeting that we can have as well. I'm not sure if y'all saw the thread on the community event page where they were talking about the $1,000 fines and that clients were fine taking on that fine. And for us, we had a call yesterday with a bride who's still moving forward with her August 1st date. And I was telling her, like, these are the rules and these are the expectations on your end. And it does seem like they are going into places and literally checking on them. So this is the standard. Like, it's just not a negotiable. If your friends are on the dance floor, they need to wear their masks. But at the end of the day, we've put out that information there. And I don't think, my personal opinion is it's not up to us or anyone of the vendors to enforce it unless we're bringing in, and I think that's what they said in the thread, like if you bring in security, some venues require security anyway, so you could have them like, try to go up and do that. But I don't think the onus should be on catering or planners or photographers to be like, put your mask back on, now separate, but just overly communicating. Sorry, I'll let Kim get back on.
I just want to say something.
Go ahead, Ruth.
All right. I kind of feel that most clients, brides, feels once I have my guests less than 50, then I don't care less. As long as I'm within that, we're just 20 of us in the room. I'm just inviting 20 people, and I already have. And some people will say, I actually make my clients have extra masks. So they actually give me, so if they're having 20 guests, they actually give me 20 masks just to put on the table in case anyone wants to have. But what I'm seeing and going forward, because I have to, most of the time after the event I have over the weekend, I had to sit down and I have to re-strategize in terms of this mask protection and all that. Actually, I've gone to have all kinds of, I'm going to show my, hold on, let me show you something. Can you all see me? So I've had to have this, which I think I'm going to be putting on so they could see my face, because I actually had my bride say, Ruth, I want to take a picture with you. And I had my mask on and I was like, okay, I'll take it out. But and I'm like, okay, I wasn't comfortable. I'm like, okay, next week, if I have to take a picture with a bride, probably I'll have my mask on. And at the time I would have this down, but am I really protecting myself? I mean, I have all kind of things that I'm trying to do, to make sure I protect myself and my team and everyone. But I think this is new for everyone and we're going to get better as we go in. But the thing is, do we want to get sick before we get better? No. So that's why we have to be on our A game to know that we're doing what is right, and we're not putting in any sentiment. That's just what I think.
Thank you, Ruth. I have one question that I'm curious about. How are y'all handling vendors not wearing masks? Like, I don't know about you, but I would feel uncomfortable if like a photographer or a makeup artist is not wearing their mask and they're handling a bride or whatever. Just out of curiosity, have y'all run into that? Are y'all having issues or anything like that? Anyone? No one run into that yet?
I can answer. I think my answer might not be a part of the norm. But I do, like for me, I always talk to my clients. I ask for consent and what their comfort levels are. For me, indoors totally makes sense to wear a mask, to be outside in 100-degree weather, running around. Like if anybody's ever worked with me, you know how physical I am as a photographer. I'm climbing, I'm crawling, and wearing a mask in 100-degree weather is possible. But it definitely robs a little of that creativity that I need. So but I talk to my clients, and I keep distance. I use longer focal lengths now to photograph, and I don't know, maybe I'm really big on autonomy. I just feel like everyone should make the decision that they feel like is best for themselves as an individual, for their family, for their company. But I also know, I'm torn on it because, you do want to care about your fellow vendors. You do want to care about the people in your life. I guess the question I have that no one really has the answer to is like, but what is the limitation? Where does it end? When does it stop? Like, do we wear masks forever because COVID's not going away next month? It's just, there's so much uncertainty. So that's why I really am about autonomy and consent and just communication.
Thank you.
And I'll say to for us, like, because we're having the same thing, right? We're doing a 100-degree outdoor wedding. Like 2 of the venues this month are all outside. Like, so what we're doing is, like, what we're adding is we need an area with air conditioning for my staff. If you can't provide that, then we're doubling our staff so that our staff can take isolation breaks where they can take their mask off and rest. Because it's so hot and like they're running around too, and I can't have people passing out left and right. But I'm also trying to keep everybody safe. So so we're adding more staff. Granted, I don't know how that would work because obviously your eye is the one that's needed. But yeah, we're requiring an air conditioned space, or we're adding more staff members for isolation breaks. So
I like that. Thank you. Cool. Well, if nobody else has any comments or questions, I know we're nearing the end, so I'm gonna pass it off to Lauren to see if she has any other last minute things that she needs to mention. I just want to say thank you so much for coming and participating with us today. So I'm gonna mute myself and let Lauren chat here. Thank you guys.
Thank you so much, Kim. I think you did a phenomenal job. Thank you so much for stepping up. Everyone's applauding. I really love that we had this discussion. Thank you so much. Hello, to everyone for sharing. Obviously the headlines in the last, for always have been really dramatic, but especially in the last few days, we've been seeing the highest increases in positive cases. So this was an important conversation for us to have because your clients are seeing these headlines as well. And then they're getting, little birdies in their ear, either their parents or shareholders telling them to reschedule. So I think planning ahead now of how you're going to respond to those fall and spring 2021 reschedules or cancellations is really good for everyone. Sorry, I'm just reading more of the comments. Everyone wear your mask, keep everyone safe. And thank you again for joining. Y'all have a good day. Bye.